Nthabiseng, what a pleasure to have you in studio with me to have a wonderful conversation. Of course, I anticipate for it to be wonderful, but I know it's going to be interesting and illuminating and have a conversation about marketing. Thank you so much for joining us. And I think before we start, perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hey, Nthabiseng. Thank you so much for having me here. Long overdue, is it?
Stupidly long overdue.
It's been a while.
These diaries.
But yeah, no, you know how it rolls, right? But I am incredibly grateful to be here. Thank you for the opportunity and the time to just, sit, reflect, and spend this time with you just in conversation. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Who is Nthabiseng?
Sure. Nthabiseng Kingwana Mopedi.
Okay.
Limpopo girl.
Yes.
Grew up in the city, of course, in Jozi. But my family originally from Modimolle, well, actually further up in Zanin.
Hot. That's hot.
Yeah, I'm used to the heat, but the beauty of that place,
yes.
Obviously the green, luscious hills that are like, to die for. I am, a African child who is so proud and loves being African. I love my country like nobody's business. And I think, in the past 2 years, it's amazing how I've gotten to actually appreciate, what we have, the inability to actually cross the border and go chasing sunsets in other countries, overseas, wherever. I've literally spent time just going around our country and just enjoying the moments here. I am a lover of adventures. I'm a lover of the outdoors, which probably was the main reason that brought me back to the city of Cape Town because, yes, was in Jersey for a couple of years.
You're a lapsed Johannesburger.
I'm a lapsed Johannesburger. I think the need to actually just go out there and, hike, just be by the ocean, it really drew me back to the city, and that's kind of who I am at this point in time.
I love it because you're actually a storyteller, but you're not telling us that as well because this has been an incredible introduction in terms of who you are, what moves you, what excites you, and so you're also a marketer. What is that?
Marketing, right? What has it become in the last 2-3 years, actually?
I feel like we're also at a point where we don't know when we're being marketed to, marketed about. And so perhaps if you can just almost take us back to your understanding of the essence of what marketing is. And then hopefully we'll go a little bit deeper in terms of the role it plays in how it can enable our businesses to grow, our role in it, and perhaps how it even aligns with purpose and other business functions. So let's start at the very beginning.
Sure.
What is marketing?
Yeah.
What do you do?
So let's go back to marketing 101, I suppose.
Please do.
How it was learned and I suppose how it's now really since evolved. I mean, if there was the basics of, marketing is you understanding what the market is about, you understanding your brand essence, you understanding what offer you are putting out there, how it functionally appeals to, the consumers out there, what exactly are you trying to sell me, how it emotionally connects with the consumers, like, what emotions are you trying to imbue from me to interact with your brand. And essentially just getting that ultimate buy-in and, take my product, go use it because we really think it's beautiful and it's wonderful. And over time, we've seen how, especially in the last 3 years, how, just the execution of what marketing has evolved incredibly. Back then it literally was, hey, you have a TV ad, you have a print ad, you have a radio ad, you've got, SMS here, SMS there, and Bob's your uncle, you've got
strategy.
Whoever is interested knocking at your door. And then, boom, that unmentionable.
That thing that happened in March 2020.
Happens. And it's like, whoa, so you mean I cannot have a billboard, standing up there for my consumer to see? You mean I cannot have whatever, my consumer go into a mall and they will not see this beautiful branded escalator with my brand all over the show. It's like, whoa, what do I do? What do you mean? Where's that file 13 where I put that, serious digital strategy to even transform the systems of the company, etc. It's all evolved. And while the others components, the radios, and still have a role to play, marketing has really become about, digital spaces. It's become about measurability. It's become about the conversations that you are actually having with the consumers that you're targeting. It's not just a one-way street. It's not about, hey, here's my beautiful product. Take it. I really think you need it. So it's. I think for me, how I now, even as I go about my daily job, etc., it's really just an understanding of, there's a human being behind the message that I'm trying to portray.
Which is, and I think, this idea of then understanding that it's no longer a one-way street, and you need to understand the humans who are engaging with your product, your brand, your strategy. We posit at the Branson Center that actually every human being has a purpose. Everybody has a reason as to why they're getting out of bed. And sometimes, for many people, maybe that isn't yet articulated, but there's a reason why we do what we do. And so, as a marketer, where do you then place purpose in all that you do? What does purpose mean in terms of perhaps being something that helps you make sense of your work, or perhaps helps you stand out? I don't know. I'm maybe putting words in your mouth, but what is the role of purpose in your work as a marketer?
Purpose is crucial, I think. Although I think over time it's really become, or can become, something that almost intimidates you, because in going through the understanding of what's your purpose, what is your true intent in what you do on a daily basis, or what you do for consumers, etc., you have to go deep in terms of understanding, the why, the what, the who, why you're doing what you're doing, what have you got to offer, and who you actually, are positioning this thing for. And for me, what purpose really is that journey and that constant evolution. And I think, some of, the conversations that you've had over time have really alluded to just that journey that you go through. Just in terms of, understanding, your being in this world,
And so what's the purpose of marketing? If we almost took marketing to be a sentient being, but what is the purpose of marketing?
So in that being context, from a marketing point of view, how I see it is, how are we as marketers being in the moment and being present and conscious of what we do, where we are, how we do it, in order to deliver the business objectives that we've got. Obviously, we are intentional about things we do because we've got the bottom line that we need to address. We've got our KPIs that we need to ensure that they are, delivered in a fast, succinct way. But we also need to remember that, that business or whatever we do, we exist within the world and the ecosystem. So how do we contribute in a way that essentially positively impacts the world that we're in?
And I think also your customers will punish you. Consumers and customers are very intelligent, and so they will punish you with their wallets. They'll punish you with the goodwill that they have to offer or can take away. And of course, they'll crucify you on social media if your intention doesn't match the thing that you have and the values and your activities. And so, I'm very interested to know.
So talking to that punishment, right? I think what I try to always remember, and as we are working, it's, this is it's now become a world of co-creation. It's not a, one-way street. And the listening to the consumers, listening on the ground, listening to the team, listening to, even your team internally, the ones who are actually customer facing, are a lot more direct, helps you understand that co-creation, or helps me and my team understand that co-creation process.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
Because, and back then, so in terms of what informs our strategies and the works, we can go out and do, sanctified research through like the formalized channels. But yes, it's great to have the sanctified research, but there's also
the
people,
day-to-day
people who are there. Probably if you speak to, marketing and sales, for instance, if we get into that space where the salespeople speak to the consumers almost on the daily. You've got customer service who gets the complaints or the compliments. So how do we tap into that space and actually work in alignment and make sure that whatever comes out of that space enable us to actually get out with insightful and very informed marketing campaigns.
I'm really, really excited to understand that marketing, from your point of view, is all about the collaboration, which means that, or at least leads me into my next sort of point of curiosity in terms of when we at the Branson Center working with entrepreneurs, we talk about these areas of impact. And I guess these are business functions that you can think of. And so when we think about marketing, there seems to be some intersection or maybe confusion that then can happen very quickly, especially when you don't have resources from, as a corporate player and you're building your business. What is the intersection, the interplay, and the difference between marketing, sales, brand? Because I know that some of those three things in my brain go back to this precious bottom line as well. But what's the interplay?
Yeah. So the relationship between those three is also one of those, the most important, because as I mentioned earlier, you have sales who are getting it directly from the customers. So they are quite important in terms of, in us, from a brand point of view, building and shaping this brand and essentially trying to lay out the purpose of what this brand truly is about and aligning it to customers. It's important to get that feedback. And then when marketing comes in from a executional point of view of executing that brand message, how responsible are we in terms of the actual promotional content that we put out there? Is it speaking to these three, the other departments?
And does everyone enable the next person?
Exactly. And like you said earlier on, we all have the responsibility of the bottom line, but also we have the responsibility of the consumer, or the end customer, the responsibility of, ensuring that the business, whatever they say or they promise, is exactly what they receive from all the different departments, because you can't work in isolation.
No, of course.
And sometimes the pressures create the isolation. I need to deliver. But of late, and I mean, even in the space that I'm in, collaboration and checking in and I suppose working in a digital space, that's enabled us to have, platforms or spaces where we are actually sharing into one space in order to actually get out. So there is enough visibility and more succinct check-in points and understanding of how succinct is this message from brand to marketing to sales. Or from sales to marketing to brand. Back then the analogy would be, the brand police don't want to do that.
Yes.
But is it the brand police don't want to do that, or is it can we sit down, have a conversation and explain why we think it's so important?
Right.
It's not just about sales thought it was a nice idea and they want to do it. but there's a reason behind it. If we speak and collaborate, then the understanding is there, and
we can always unlock the collective genius here.
Exactly.
And so if I'm sitting as a growing entrepreneur and I really want to execute on my marketing plan, but I do not have the budget that maybe Nthabiseng has or has had in other roles that she's been a part of, what do I need to focus on? What is the sense check that I need to have to be able to at least execute on something?
Can I Google you?
Okay. All right.
That's the first question. Yeah. Because I think nowadays, because we have that platform, if you tell me my business is so-and-so, and how do I verify it as a consumer? I'm going to go check Google. And if I can't pick you up,
I don't know if you're a real thing.
If you're real. I don't know if I should be giving you my money.
That's
I don't know.
Important.
So there's and what's wonderful about that is that Google has created easier packages for you. A 101 type of way of using it. You don't have to be a tech buff, or you don't have to necessarily be in a space of really truly understanding. You can YouTube this stuff. Probably just throwing in names there, but
it's fine. These are the everyday
technology. If you're not playing in that space, you are doing yourself a disservice as a small business. And yes, there are some people who, because there are some businesses who think you're so focused on trying to get customers, the old school way, and then you forget those platforms can actually help.
Can enable you.
Get those customers in. So, and, social media has become, one platform that has advanced the way we do business. Instagram, you can sell your products there. You can have a whole shop there and not even do much. You spend 2-3 hours a day making sure that things are set up and things just start rolling. Facebook, So my advice would really be like, get out there, get your business in a space where you are searchable and you're findable.
Searchable and findable, and I think what excites me around just that first point of entry is do the thing that already is in front of you. So I'm not saying go find the most expensive or the most relevant marketer in the world to bring into your team, but rather you already know that even you, if you're looking for something, you'll Google it first, or you'll go on social media to look for those keywords. And so I think I love it when the advice is that simple and that accessible when we're talking about roles and functions like marketing, because the big barrier for a lot of entrepreneurs is going, I hear what Nthabiseng is saying, but I don't have a budget. So I'm not going to, I'm actually going to tap out from this conversation. So you've got people to tap in now.
Exactly, like tap in, like even your personal space. So there's this, obviously, the whole personal branding conversations that are out there. And it also, you can go back to like how are you managing your own personal space, your own personal brand. So if I go on Instagram and how effectively are you using your Instagram page, and if you have a business, for instance, is there a way of mirroring the two, or are you going to have like two separate accounts but you're going to actually have to actively manage them? So how do you actually just fuse it together to put your business out there? And I suppose if you wanna pull it back into the purpose space, it's what are you being intentional about?
Why are you doing this?
Growing yourself and your business at this time, when you've got the platforms.
How do I know that my marketing strategy, my marketing plan is working? What is my indicator of success?
Is it measurable?
Is it measurable?
I think key for, and especially in what I do, if I think we launch campaigns and we sit there,
cross fingers, hoping
but you can't
best.
be crossing fingers because the numbers don't lie. It's in black and white to tell you, this campaign went out at a certain period. What has been, the brand uplift? What has been, the amount of subscriptions you've actually increased over that period? So being able to measure, and that's why technology is so important, because it has actually made life that much easier, because now you're actually able to see the impact that you are making in the world.
And again, I think it's so important to just go back to that simplicity of measurability, because we can also, as entrepreneurs, we fall in love with our creations, right? So we fall in love with the business, we fall in love with the brand that we've created, we fall in love with our own marketing strategies, our marketing plans, we fall in love with ourselves, and we then work so hard on amplifying that we sometimes forget, or we assume that everybody else out there is going to be as enamored with this creation as we are ourselves. And that is in itself the outcome, is everybody saying this is wonderful. Whereas you are building a business where you are trying very much to make sure that your business has a positive impact on people, your business has a positive impact on the environment, and your business has a positive impact on the economy. And so that economic piece is really, really important, because at a macro level, that's an inclusive economy, and at a micro level, it's sales.
And I think to speak to that, and I think when I spoke in inductions and all these different spaces and trying to actually probably also articulate what marketing is at times, it's, that understanding that you're trying to marry art and science together. Right brain, left brain, and you will sometimes get to a point where you will hit the snags of the science coming in, which may mean that your art needs to be kind of toned down a bit compared to the scalp. So like you say, business owners, it's my baby, it's this beautiful thing. But what do you mean I have to remove this red line or this pink line? I like that pink line. But in the end, the results will come out. Even with, so that art coming, you put in the art out there and creating this masterpiece that you think is a masterpiece, it's subjective. The results will be your consumer responses. Whether people click on that link and say, actually, I do want to buy into this or not. And that's when the science essentially tells you it's not working, or it's working, not working. And how to shift.
Well, I think what it does is that it takes us back to the full circle of this idea that you brought in, where you said marketing in this moment is a conversation, it's a co-creation, it's no longer a one-way street of here's the thing I'm putting out there, take it. It's we need to collaborate here. And so the idea of entrepreneurs learning to understand their product, themselves, their purpose, but more importantly, or equally importantly, is entrepreneurs being able to understand their market, therefore their customers, who are people. And so I really, really appreciate that. And so I'm going to wrap up our conversation, because I think I'm getting the feeling that we probably are due a second and a third conversation where we can go a little bit deeper in this, because I'm really curious about this. And so I'm going to ask some quick questions. Quick fire questions, Nthabiseng. The role of marketing is to
be succinct.
A business without a marketing plan is a business
that's set to fail.
Wow, you are telling it, keeping it real. A marketing plan without purpose is?
A disaster.
A disaster.
What are you trying to do? What are you doing?
Sure. We should really do this over wine.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing? No. Why are you there? Yeah.
Nthabiseng loves marketing because?
It fires me up. The difference that you get to see in people's lives by offering them the offer that you have, and the impact is what actually excites me and gets me going. And that's how I've been deliberate, even in terms of the brands that I've been fortunate enough to work with. I cannot sit back and say, that was a bad move. It's really been brands that I've seen the difference and the impact that my contribution has done.
I love this. And thank you so much for sharing your time with us, your thoughts on what marketing is. I'm hoping that everyone listening, everyone watching has really dug deep in terms of understanding what this collaboration is and what it looks like and how enabling it can be. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it was fun.
Told you.
Awesome.